what it is to work together as whole human beings. And I don't personally I hate the lived experiences attached to me, and I take advantage of it. Like, I'm showing up here in a wet bathing suit, just got out the pool because I've been working and I'm tired and it's hot, right? And y'all don't let me away. Like, let's be real. You will. And the thing is that folks in this room, right, you either have already decided you're gonna listen to me or you haven't, based on that label of lived experience. You know what I'm saying? And it might be unconscious. You might not even be aware of it, and that's okay. I'm not mad at you for that. I mean, do some internal work around it, right? But like, it doesn't matter the clothes I have on when I'm in front of you, because the label that came in before I did was one of lived experience. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm gonna come in as a whole person, because that's how you're gonna get the best out of me. And when we show up in these spaces, we come in as whole people. It's really important when we're doing this work to remember, these slides are kind of old and now I feel like I've grown out of them, but like I also wanted to have something for y'all to be able to look at. But like, it's important we remember, like, we're engaged in cross-cultural work. And it's not about, cultural competency is something we've heard a lot about, right? But we really need to evolve into that next step of what cultural humility is. What does it mean to recognize that I don't know the experience of somebody else? Like, I can't tell you, like, all three of us up here, we have very different stories. We have gone through very different things. I am not a monolith. We are not a monolith. We do not speak for every person with lived experience. There might be some lived ex folk in here right now that are like, I cannot stand what this woman is saying, And that's real, and that's why it matters. That's why it matters that we're here and that we're talking and that you have people like us in these spaces. But again, not just like sitting at your table, right? But helping co-create and co-design this work. If you have not been underneath the oppression of these systems, right? If you haven't lived underneath it, if you haven't understood what it is to have to be kicked awake at 2 o'clock in the morning by the police, and then you missed the 9 a.m. meeting, and now your case manager's mad at you because you were supposed to be here, and now you've lost your access to this, and you don't know what that experience is, you can't help design how to respond to that experience. If you can't hear that that's what the experience is, you cannot create the response to it, right? And so when we talk about being involved in cross-cultural work, we have these diverse backgrounds and experiences. And I want to name something too. This conference has left me, this is new, this is not a part of what I was planning to say, but I've been having some kind of feelings about lived experience as a term, because we all have lived experience. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I'm being othered by lived experience in this way of oh, she used to be homeless, oh, she whatever. And it's but everyone in this room has lived experience. We occupy intersections of access to power and privilege. We occupy intersections of marginalization. We all occupy some level of that, right? And so when you bring me into a space and be like, oh, Rhie, she's awesome. She's an expert in lived expertise, whatever. And this is not, I'm gonna be clear, this is not about shame. This is about reflection, right? I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. We all are doing the best we can do. Hopefully, doing the best we can do. I think, maybe we could do a little better, but I think we're trying to do that, and that's why we're here. And so when you hear things, and I kind of want to skip ahead in one of my slides. I'm going to skip ahead, and then we'll get back. So when you hear these things y'all, that equal sign is so blurry. Sorry, Canada doesn't translate well to PowerPoint. When you hear things, you invite people with lived experience in the space, whatever. Oh, good, they're here, we're at the table. And you're hearing hey, this could be different. Hey, this isn't right. This is what happened to me. These are the gaps in what's going on, right? And when you're hearing these, y'all folks, some people in this space have been doing this work for 25 years. It is the entirety of your identity. You are not here because you don't care. You know what I'm saying? And if you are I'm on a career track, I'm just trying to get to retirement, honey, it's time to move on. Let's move out the way. And that's not disrespectful. And we hear these things, we go into these spaces. If I told you the number of times I got in trouble in my spaces for running my mouth, right? Calling out the things I was seeing. Because the people who were hearing it were hearing me say, this place is bad. You suck. You're terrible. That's not what it was. It was me saying, I love this place saved my life. And I know it continues to save lives. And I wanted to be able to do that. And I wanted to do it better. Because my goal is to make sure people don't have to go through what I went through again. right? And so it's really important, like, this conference has me reflecting on a lot. A lot of my job is teaching people with lived experience how to be heard. And my whole thing at this is going to be coming soon, no, I don't know. But my whole thing is like, I'm tired of teaching people with lived experience how to be heard. Y'all who don't have it need to learn how to listen. Like, that's what we need to be working on. What does it mean to be able to hear? What does it mean to hear a story and instead of rolling your eyes, because we have to listen to this person with lived experience because that's what everybody's telling us to do now, so we just gonna let them run their mouth. What happens if instead you hear, oh, they're sharing this story about getting kicked out of their shelter at 5 o'clock in the morning, the buses aren't running yet, it's still below freezing, their friends over here, this is happening, and people, I watch it in rooms, eyes glaze over, you get tired, you don't want somebody complaining to you about the work that you live and breathe every day, but what you're missing is they're telling you, we need to change the shelter system. We need to make sure that there's an opportunity for people to stay in shelter until the buses start running because it's below freezing. We need to make sure there's access to warming centers. And if you were listening to it through that lens, right, it's real hard to get offended.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, and we gotta realize too that, like, listen, race is like the leading factor in like 5 different social determinants of health outcomes. We know that, right? We know that their numbers have come out from the Spark reports. We see it in our communities every day, right? If you are black or brown, you are far more likely to be experiencing unsheltered homelessness, experiencing homelessness than you are if you look like me, you know? And we have to recognize that this issue of engaging folks with lived experience is also an issue of racial justice, of what does it mean to look at equity not as like the same number that came in are exiting, right? That happened at a place I worked one time. They were looking at the numbers going, we're doing fine because the same number of young people that are black coming into our system, we have this equal number exiting the system. 42 in, 42 out. That's not equity, right? It needed to be in our system because we were seeing what was it, Kiana?
6 times.
6 times, 6 times, thank you. I think at the time the numbers came out, it was like 42% of young people in our community were experiencing homelessness, who were experiencing homelessness were black. 86% were people of color, right? And so when we look at these numbers, what we needed to actually see was 42 young people came into the system this month and 115 exited. And that's what equity looks like,
Yes, ma'am.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
But you got to be able to hear it. You got to be able to listen. In these systems, like that's gonna be, the work here, people get frustrated with me because I'm not gonna give you quantitative numbers. I'm not. Quantitative is great, but y'all got everybody doing that. There have been 15 things on research at this conference alone, right? But you gotta be listening to your own system. You gotta be listening to your people. You gotta be learning and interrogating in your system what is broken, right? Because I can't give you a tool from Austin that's gonna work in Philadelphia. Philadelphia and Austin are different, you know? I can't tell you what it's like to be homeless in Philadelphia. Shit, I can't tell you what it's like to be homeless in 2017 because I wasn't. You see what I'm saying? These things matter. And part of this is the onus is on your system to begin the process of adaptation, changing, shifting, right? What does it mean to have a system that adapts to individuals rather than forcing people to adapt to a system that has historically, knowingly caused trauma and harm? Right? Right? But that, listen, that work is on the system. It's not on me, it's not on young people, it's not on the GADs, it's not on the groups of people with lived experience. Like, we can't fix this for you, but we're trying to build something with you. And you have to allow that. That collaboration means lateral sharing of power. How scary is that? It's real scary. Look, it is. Listen, when I first started learning about anti-racism work and liberational work and understanding, like, even though I'm mixed, look at how I look. I present as white. It was quite terrifying for me to understand that, like, oh, like, I'm in this room today in large part because of how I present. Not necessarily because I'm brilliant, although I am. But like, I know, but it's like, our lives are as much about the choices we make as they are about the choices we have access to make, right? And our systems, y'all people in this room, people here who hold the onus of power at the moment as we work in to try to navigate that lateral sharing, right? you have the opportunity to create more access to more choices, to let people make them. You don't tell them what's best for them, what's gonna work for them, what's right, what's wrong. You just say, here are some choices, because we have the power to do that. And that's what embodying, leveraging of your access to power and privilege means, right? So as we're doing this work of transformation, we have to understand this is literally simultaneously we are having to dismantle and rebuild. And that's scary, but the part of this is relation. We can't do it if we don't have a relationship with each other. We can't. If I got up here and shared a bunch of stats with you about this, that, and the other, not one of y'all would be like, oh, okay. All right, well, she's got tattoos, so that's different. Like the truth is like you gotta start doing that work of building, and part of that comes in with you interrogating your own role in the system and allowing space for people to interrogate the ways in which our roles act as gatekeepers, the ways in which our roles hoard power, and what can we be doing to turn that towards liberation.